Hey there, people. Let's talk about a DC film that I actually enjoyed watching. The first good DC film since probably Shazam in 2017. The first good DC film since Wonder Woman. If you look at the story, you'd think it was just an Ant-Man ripoff. If you've read the comic, if you're about as much of a DC nerd that I am, you'd realize that Blue Beetle is a little more than just, an Ant-Man ripoff. If you've seen Young Justice, if you've seen anything related to Young Justice, you'd realize that Blue Beetle plays a very important part in the DC comics at least. And I'm so glad for the first time we're able to get a character, especially in live action, that actually, makes you want to like them without being forced down our throats, unlike most Marvel comic superheroes in the last 2 years that have come out. I mean, come on, seriously, if you're looking at any character apart from probably Loki, in the last 2 years, they've been just terrible. Okay, She-Hulk was bad. Do you want me to do a review on She-Hulk? I would, but I don't think I would survive making an entire video on She-Hulk. At the same time, I think Blue Beetle is one of those rare DC films that actually made a lot of sense. You have characters that work, characters that are relatable, characters that have an actual arc from the beginning to the end. I mean, we all know DC hasn't been doing great with the kind of films that they've been releasing. Fury of God, Flash, Suicide Squad again, then that terrible DC other film. I mean, if I started naming films that DC released in the last 3 years, I'd probably run out of films that I liked and I'd lose my mind. I start pulling my hair. I have a lot of hair to pull out anyway. Let's just talk about why Blue Beetle worked for me. One of the most underappreciated films to come out this year. The story of the Blue Beetle, despite it being an origin story, has those tropes that we all are well aware of. Character becomes a superhero, doesn't want to be a superhero, eventually accepts the fact that he is a superhero and deals with it. Blue Beetle himself has a very realistic, funny character. His character is hilarious. His character work, the way he delivers his line, the way he talks to people around him, wonderful. Then you have Jenny Cord, who's the daughter of Ted Cord, and people who've read DC comics already know Ted Cord because, well, he's one of the many billionaires in the DC universe who end up being a superhero. For example, Oliver Queen, Bruce Wayne. Well, I just can't name two currently, but you get the gist of it. Jenny Cord, her character is well written, has motive, and has an actual character arc. The same thing with Blue Beetle, the Reyes family, the entire Reyes family together has something that a lot of DC films, a lot of Marvel films have been missing in the last few years: relatability. The fact that you and I can look at that character and go, yeah, you know what? I like that character. You know what? I can relate to that character. I can understand the struggles of the character. And you have a villain that kind of makes sense. You have a villain that you despise and you want Blue Beetle to defeat. How the story develops from the beginning to the end, it's beautifully done. And I still cannot understand how the CGI in Blue Beetle is better than the Flash. How do you manage to make the CGI of probably one of the few characters that are on the side better than the Flash, who happens to be in the Justice League? Were you not concerned that it would look bad for the Flash? What is wrong with you, DC? At this point, it's a rhetorical question. Don't answer it. Just don't. Please don't. The plot of the film is very interesting. You have the main character, Jamie Reyes, getting the Beetle, Khajida. I called her Khadija by mistake, Khajida. So basically, Khaji chooses Jamie as a host, and that leads to some very funny situations where he wakes up multiple times without clothes, and it's hilarious to watch his reaction and the reaction of the family. The Beetle essentially protects the host from any sort of harm that comes against him, and the plot kind of uses that to move the story forward. And what this does is it keeps the story engaging, it keeps the story moving forward, and we always have something to look forward to. And that has been rare in a lot of DC films recently. I was surprised at how good the CGI was. Could it have been better? Yes. But was it bad? No. The performances of all the characters You have the Reyes family, you have Jenny Cord, Toria Cord, if I'm not wrong, and everyone does a really good job. My favorite is Rudy, and the way he deals with situations is absolutely hilarious. My favorite dialogue from him throughout the film is, "We'll burn the bridge when we get to it." I'm going to be using that for the rest of my life. We'll burn the bridge when we get to it. Absolute baller of a line. Like I mentioned, the performances were brilliant, and it keeps you hooked onto the film. It keeps you interested in the film. Overall, it was such a fun experience watching a film that was entertaining at the end of it. And that's about how much I can ask from a film. It's funny how low my bar is set at this point. What can you do? It is what it is. Anyway, I loved watching Blue Beetle, and I hope you watch the film eventually when it comes on OTT platforms. I hope this video was enough to convince you to watch the film, because you will not regret watching it. It's just a fun overall watch, and for the first time in maybe 2-3 years, I had a lot of fun watching a superhero film. Peace, that's been my time, and see you in the next one.